In this lesson, we're going to be arm crocheting a pet bed. So in this lesson, you'll be learning how to chain, single crochet, and slip stitch. We'll be making something a little bit like this, and by the end of the lesson, you should understand the principles to make this as big or as small as you want it. Alright, we're going to start with chaining. Now how long or how short you make your chain will determine how long or short your oval is and how big it is in the end. So I'm not going to chain too many just for illustration's sake, but if you want a larger oval, you need to chain a longer chain to begin with. You do a chain simply by tying a knot, putting your arm through, and pulling each loop through. This is the same as that mock long tail cast on we did in arm knitting or the chain cast on. This part is exactly the same, there's nothing different. Okay, let's speed things along here and finish up our chain. So we're going to do single crocheting next. And as you can see, there's a top, middle, and bottom row to this chain. So I'm going to be single crocheting into the top stitches, the very top of the stitches of each one. Now when you have the loop on your arm, you always skip the first one. So don't do that one, do this one, and that's what we're going to be single crocheting in. The way you do that is to pull your yarn through the loop and then pop it on your arm, so you will have two loops on your arm, and then grab your yarn again and pull it through those two loops. Now you have one loop on your arm, and we do the exact same thing in the next stitch. Pull the loop through, you should have two loops on your arm, pull your regular yarn through, your working yarn, to make one loop. And there we go. So we're going to do this all the way to the end, and in the very last stitch we are going to actually single crochet 3 times in one loop, because we have to go around the end and we have to make it a little bit wider as we go around so it can fill out that oval. So I have one more to do before I get to the end. So a loop, one loop, pull it through 2 loops, and I'm going to be speeding up here a little bit. Now this is the last loop. I need to put 3 in this to make it go around the edge. So I put my arm in and 3 into this loop. So we do 1, pull our yarn through these 2 loops, we have one more, 1 loop on our arm, and we do another one. This is number 2, the second single crochet we've done in this, and we do 1 more single crochet into that same loop that we've been doing. And this is completing the turn around the edge. So now you can see I've got this nice flat bit, and we've come up around the corner. Now we need to go back down that side and do the ends. So we just do 1 single crochet in each stitch now, in the very top stitch that you can see there. As I'm coming up to the end here, I also need to put 2 stitches in the last part of where the chain would have been, and I actually forgot to do that when I was knitting this, but you should do that, and it makes the ends bulk up a little bit. But it's really hard because the wool is so bulky to notice if you've missed stitches or if you've added 1 or 2 extras. It really blends in, so this gives you a lot of leeway if you're a beginner. We're going to slip stitch now to join the ends, and we do that by slipping the back one over the front one, and that's how you join all rounds. That should be the very last stitch, and it's a very tiny, tight, flat stitch. Now we're moving on to our second round. So I'm going to be knitting into these kind of V stitches. You can see I'm going to be pulling my yarn through behind both of those stitches. You can sometimes knit into just one side or the other, but for this pet bed, because I want it sturdy, I'm going to be single crocheting all the way around and pulling my yarn through both of them. So we need to single crochet all the way till we get kind of to the end, and then we're going to be adding 2 extra stitches onto the ends where we go around the corners, and we need to do this on every single round after this. Add 2 extra stitches to make it bigger, or else you'll have something like a basket. It'll be going up instead of staying flat like a pet bed. So we're coming up to the edge here, and I'm going to put 2 single crochets into this stitch. 2 stitches into 1 stitch, and on the other side 2 stitches into 1 stitch. And that will help my pet bed stay flat as the rounds get bigger and bigger and bigger. So let's do 1. And now go back into the exact same hole that you've just single crocheted into and do 1 more single crochet. Perfect. Now we have to continue on, and I'm going to add 2 single crochets into that stitch as well. It is helpful sometimes to use a stitch marker. It's not necessary. You can use a piece of string, and this is just to help you remember where you started so you can do a single crochet there. But like I said, if you miss a stitch or you put extra stitches or you don't do a single crochet, because this yarn is so bulky, it isn't really that noticeable. It's very beginner friendly. Now we're going to go back to where we left off. I need to do 1 more single crochet into the same stitch I've just done to make sure I've added those 2 extra stitches. So I did an extra stitch in this one and the one before. Now we're going to single crochet all the way to the end of the pet bed, and then we need to do the same on the other side. We need to add 2 extra stitches on one corner and the other corner. So you need to spread out the extra 2 stitches between one corner and the other corner, and then slip stitch the last stitch in the round when we get to our little marker. And I don't actually have enough yarn to put 2 stitches around the edges of this one, so I'm just, you know what to do from the other side. I'm just going to show you the slip stitch. So this is where we're going to be doing a slip stitch. So we take this out. This is our stitch marker. Just remove it, and we want to do a slip stitch. So you hold your yarn and drop the back stitch over the top of the front one, much like a cast off for arm knitting. And now you have to keep doing rounds the same way. Single crochet all the way to the end, add 2 extra stitches around the sides, and if it gets really big, you can even add 3 extra stitches on each side of the corners. It just depends on how big or how tight you want it. If you want the edges going up, then you actually need to crochet the exact same amount, 1 single crochet into each stitch, and the sides will start coming up like a basket instead of laying flat. Now, what do you want to do if you want a round pet bed instead of an oval one? Well, we need to start with a circle, so we're going to chain as well, the same. So I'm going to put my arm in and chain 4 more stitches. So this is the same as before, just we're chaining 4 stitches. Now I want to join this chain together, so I'm going to slip stitch the chain together. So I have 1 loop on my hand, and I want my hand through the very first chain that I made, through that last loop, pull my yarn through, and then drop the back stitch over the front stitch like we do when we slip stitch. So back stitch over the front stitch, and this is messy, but there is actually a center to this. It's a circle. So there we go, that's the circle. And now that we have the center of our circle, we want to single crochet into all of these and around in a circle. So this is the center. So we put like maybe 8 or 10 stitches into the center of this, and it'll make a nice perfect circle. So this is 1, and I'll just keep hold of the ring so you can see where the center is, because it gets a bit bulky. This is 2 stitches. We're single crocheting right into the center of this ring that we've made. And we just carry on, and this is the same as the oval bed. You just carry on until you get to the other side. You do a single crochet to join the edges. I'll just tie a stitch marker around the center so I can find the center, because it does get a bit bulky. See, I have half of my circle done now. And I would go all around to the other edge and then slip stitch. I would slip stitch the last one to join them. Once you've got the hang of this, there's all sorts of things you can make. This swirl rug video tutorial is in the members area. Now you should be able to figure out how to make a larger pet bed, a smaller pet bed, an oval or round pet bed. For this tutorial, I used machine felted merino wool, and I did that myself. The machine felting tutorial is in the paid members area. Now, machine felting is so fast. It's great for pet beds and those kind of things. It's not as fluffy as blanket, you know, when you felt it up for a blanket. So this is definitely not very nice for blankets, but for pet beds, absolutely smashing, wonderful. And it doesn't require any special care. You can take the whole pet bed, toss it in the washing machine, and not worry about it being destroyed. Now, in my paid members area, I have a ton of ideas of other cat beds and pet beds that you can actually arm knit or crochet up with the principles that I've taught you here. And there are also more video tutorials specifically on cat beds and pet beds. In the members area, there's also some ideas of Celtic knots that you can tie up with your wool, and these work great for pet beds. If you get bored with one knot, tie up another knot. There's also loads and loads of ideas for things that you can top stitch over your blankets. You'll also learn how to do the loopy stitch, and an abundance of things can be made. It can be put on blankets, all sorts of things. You'll learn how to knit in the round, which you can create little toys with. The carrot blanket was partially knitted in the round. And you'll also learn how to do a cable stitch. There's an abundance of variations you can do with that. And how to use up your scraps by wet felting them into these nice fluffy stone rugs. Now, there's so much stuff in there, I can't keep going on about all of it, but there's an abundance of ideas and an abundance of video tutorials. You'll be amazed at how much creative stuff you can be inspired with in the members area. We do offer a full 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not happy with the information there, we are definitely not happy keeping your money. The one-year membership usually costs $37 a month. However, because you're on this course, you get 50% off when you use coupon code YES. That's YES, YES, and that will give you 50% off. If you prefer paying monthly, you can do that through our Patreon page. We don't have a 50% off with that. However, you can cancel at any time. So if you only want a month or 2 months or 3, and then that's all you want for the time being, you can cancel it, no problem. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Happy arm knitting from Truly Majestic.